Hello there, my name's Vince from My Mate Vince, and in this video today we're going to be trying to fix up multiple faulty items. Some of the stuff I bought faulty from eBay, other stuff's been sent into my PO box, and other stuff might be from friends and family. So there's lots to get through. Clearly all this isn't going to be done in the one episode, but let's work our way through and see what we can get done. One thing's for sure is it's all real. There'll be no fakery involved here. If something's not working, you will see it not working. I won't make out that I'm an expert because I'm clearly not, but hopefully you will find some entertainment along the way. Let's get started. We're going to try and fix this speaker which has started crackling. Now it looks like the problem is coming from the volume control, because when I turn it you can hear the crackling coming and going. I've done the normal thing about turning it all the way to the right, left, wiggling it around a few times, but it's still doing it. And it does appear to be getting worse. So hopefully between using some isopropyl alcohol and deoxit, we will get this working again. So although these are computer speakers, remember this will apply to many of the things you were using. Anything with a volume control can often go crackly over time. So now to open this up, it looks like we just have to open this up here. And we've got screws in these holes here, so let's undo them. Now the reason we're taking it apart is because we want to get right in there. If I was just to spray around here with a contact cleaner, some might work its way in, which might be a nice easy fix, but by actually going right the way into it, then we know we're getting onto the contacts. Take that out there, we just had to undo a screw at the back here. It was awkward to get to, so I used a flexible thing here. Had to prise off the volume control knob, and then you can see there's a little nut keeping this volume control knob in place here, which in turn keeps the whole board in place. So now that we have access here, what we can do is, you can see here, this line here, I'm going to pour isopropyl alcohol all around this bit here, and hopefully that will seep into this area. And then once that's dried out, then I'm going to get some deoxit and put it in here, and then hopefully once we keep working it round like this, it will make its way in there. Some of them are a lot more accessible. This one here you can see is all very much sealed, so it's going to be very hard to get to, but it should still work its way in there. So this is 99.9% alcohol, and I'm just going to drip it into the opening. Constantly turning it in the hope that bits will work their way in. Alright, so that's dried up now, so let's put a few drops of this in. As much as I can do now. As I said, it's so tight there, I don't know whether any's gone into it or not, but the IPA should have worked its way in there. So let's put it back together now, and then we'll test it again and see if it has cleared the problem. Let's take this over to the computer, see if it's fixed. And now if you have a listen. I'm just making tiny movements and that scratching sound's gone. Yeah, happy with that. So as you can see, it's an easy way to fix many speakers that have a crackly audio volume control. A little bit of IPA, a little bit of deoxit. Yes, it takes a bit of work to take it apart, but at least then you've got more chance of getting the products into it to actually do the cleaning, just to remove any oxidization that may have occurred over the years. Now, before we move on to the next item, let's have a quick word from today's sponsor. Thought it'd be quicker. PCB Way. PCB Way have over a decade experience in the PCB industry. They have state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities and they use the latest technology to produce high-quality PCBs that meet your specification. But PCB Way don't just make circuit boards. Do you want your aluminium brushed? Well, PCB Way can do that for you. Do you want some laser cutting? Well, they have CNC laser cutting machines as well as CNC milling machines as well. And if you want your part painted, guess what? They also have options to paint it. Here we have a nice example of some high gloss paint. So I'd like to thank PCB Way for sponsoring the My Mate Vince channel. Links will be in the description down below. Now let's move on to the next item. So this is one of those Google Assistants, a Google Nest Mini 2nd generation. Let's bring it over to the blue mat. So I bought it from eBay for £5 UK and it's listed as no audio. I've bought other items from this seller and they're all listed correctly, so they obviously know what they're doing. Now I haven't got the correct power supply for this. Generation 1 just takes a micro USB, but this takes a barrel jack and it's a 14 volt one. But let's take it apart, get onto the contacts, and then we can put the bench power supply into it and see what it's doing. So to get into it, we've got to take off this little rubber thing here, like so. And there's a Torx 6-bit on the inside. We now have to just turn it clockwise, only about a centimetre, or not even that, maybe a few millimetres. And then that will slide off like that. Now I want to be careful. Right, so what I'm going to do is, we've got a ribbon cable here. This is where the barrel jack goes into it here. Let's put 14 volts straight into it at 1 amp and see if any audio comes out of it. Right, it's centre pin positive, so this one here is going to be the positive, and this one here is going to be, well, these three are going to be the negative. Okay, so it's made no noise whatsoever. Now I'm just going to flip the mic switch here. There you go, and it's gone to red, yet it still hasn't said anything. So we definitely know now that it hasn't got any audio. So let's strip this down further. I'm just going to lift up this little tab here and pull out the ribbon cable. So this here is the actual speaker, and we have T6 screws around the edge here, so let's undo them. Okay, so that slides off there now, and here we have the speaker connector. Okay, right, let's see if we've got any ohms reading on the speaker. Right, okay, as you can see there, it is in the mega ohms, so in fact, is there anything there now at all? No, there's nothing there. So that suggests that the speaker itself is faulty. I don't know what ohm this speaker should be, but on other speakers they might be like 8 ohms. Well, this is not reading anything. This is completely open. So it could be a faulty connector, or it could be faulty. Could be a faulty speaker, or it could be faulty wiring here. Let's open this up a bit. Well, it looks okay. Let's give it a wiggle and see if it kicks in. If the ohms like suddenly appear. There we go, 2 ohms. Right, nothing there. Unless my leads hit together. Right, I'm not sure if that was my leads hitting together or whether it's bad wiring here. There we go, 5 ohms. My leads are definitely not hitting together. So it's dodgy wiring somewhere along this little bit here. So now what we're going to do, let's add some IPA to here and just to see if that will ease off the glue here, and that might give me a bit more slack on these wires. So this is isopropyl alcohol. Yes, it is easing off, look. There we go. Right, I can't see an easy way to take this apart. It looks like it's been all just plastic welded around the edge. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to cut the wires back right where it meets here, and then hopefully we'll be able to see if the brake's going into it or from here outwards. The wires stripped back there. So when I touch my leads together, you can see that I've got a 2 ohm reading. Yeah, there you go, 5 ohms. So it's definitely okay there. Let's do a continuity between here and here. So let's just go to continuity there. Right, so that's okay. And that's okay. Well, there doesn't appear to be any break in the wires. But we've seen there was no reading earlier on. Let's see what it's doing now. Yeah. Six ohm. Well, it definitely feels strong when I pull it there. And put it there. There doesn't appear to be anything wrong. I was hoping to find a break in the wires. Right, well, that's a bit of a mystery to me. Those wires are nice and thick. They're not weak whatsoever. I've really been tugging on them, and now they're working perfectly, but yet they were open to begin with, and this was sold as no audio, and there was no audio on it. So let's pop it back into the connector, let's put it back into here, and let's see if we do have sound. There we go, it's working. How bizarre is that?
To get started, download the Google Home app on a phone or tablet.
Right, how weird is that? Okay, well, what I'm going to do is, there doesn't appear to be anything wrong with those wires just there. I'm wondering whether it might be just as it goes inside. But you would think it would break from here then when I'm putting it. Unless, of course, it was a bit of a bad connection on here. But I thought it looked to be fine, but maybe it was a bad connection there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim this off, use a bit of heat shrink on it to neaten it up, and then put it back together. And by doing this, the wires can no longer short against each other. Just going to put some hot glue on it. And let's give it one last test before putting it back together. 4 ohms. That's fine.
Hi. To get started, download the Google Home app on a phone or tablet. The microphone is back on.
There we go. How bizarre is that? Because I didn't do anything to fix that. That was just a classic case of take it apart and then it starts working, even though I did nothing to that. All I can think is that the wires that I wiggled to begin with, unless it was on the actual connector itself, I'm wondering whether there's a slight break or something just inside where the wires go inside onto the speaker, or there might be a cold solder joint or something in there. The problem is, in order for me to take this speaker apart, I'll probably destroy it in the process because I'd have to possibly cut all the way around the edge. So I'm going to leave it like that, and if it fails again, then it can be looked at again. But right now it's working, and by me wiggling those wires, it might have wiggled it back into place. So yeah, not an ideal fix because I didn't really fix anything, but it's working now when it wasn't working earlier. And in here we have a carpet cleaner. I got this primarily to try to clean the carpets on the Rolls-Royce car. So I was going to hire a rug doctor, but then I thought for a similar sort of price, well actually I've paid more for this, but I thought it might be interesting to get a video out of trying to fix one. So that's what I've done. I've got this one here instead of hiring one. I think it's a current model. I need to double check that, and I think they're 200 and something or 300 and something pounds, so I presume the quality is going to be okay, but I won't know that until I start using it. I'm thinking it's not going to be as good as a rug doctor because that is like a more commercial device, but still, you never know, it might work. So let's unpack it and see what it's doing. So I've unpacked it and it looks like it's a Bissell Stain Pro 6, and we do have various different attachments with it. So I'm going to try to piece it together and see what it's doing. There was also some broken bits of plastic in the box, but there was loads of junk in the box anyway. So maybe that's just left over from something else that was in there previously. Okay, so I've put it together. Annoyingly, it doesn't have like the hand attachment, you know, that you do stairs and stuff. And really, that's what I wanted for the car. It has got this thing here, but that's not going to have any kind of bristles or anything on. That looks like it's just for like, I don't know, like sucking up the water from tight crevices. But from what I can see, it does seem to be sucking. I just don't think the brushes are moving at the front. So if I turn it on. But if you have a look here, so I think it's working, apart from the things spinning at the front, and obviously you need them to work because that's what's going to be agitating. Whether or not it's pumping out water and sucking up water, I don't know, but right now we need to at least get that fixed. To be fair, in the listing it did say something about cam belt needs changing, so I presume it means that one at the front. Now looking around here, I can clearly see that it looks like there's a serviceable hatch just here, and it actually says belt access door, see user's guide. So let's just get a screwdriver, undo that and see what's going on in there. The whole thing looks very, right, it's a bit dirty, but look how new it looks. Those bristles don't look like they've had much use at all. So you know what, the belt might not be snapped. It might have just come off its runner or something like that. Let's get a screwdriver and see. Okay, so it's on its side now. I can see a screw here and a screw here. This screw is loose, so obviously the belts have been checked. Okay. Right, so we got a belt here. What turns that? So is there some motor in here that turns this? Is that linked to that? Yeah, that's linked to that. Oh, I can see. I can see a broken belt in here. Right, let me just get this down. Right, if you have a look in here, can you see there's a metal spindle? So that metal spindle must spin, so it must be kind of, you know, through this area here. And then the belt should go from there to this red thing here, and obviously it's not because it is broken. There you go. So I'm just going to turn it on just to see if that definitely is spinning. If it is, I think that might be the only problem with this machine, but obviously it might not be sucking up the water. Right, 100% that is spinning. It's just so hard to see, but you'll see on the initial startup. You ready? There you go, you can just see it at the end there. Wow, so I might well have just got lucky with this one. It might be the belt. Let's see how much they cost to buy. I presume it's a common failure point because it's actually written here as belt access doors. So, you know, these are replaceable items. Okay, so this is the belt that came off, and you can clearly see, I know it's in two halves, but 3100625. So I've gone online. It also says EX637. And let me show you what I've bought. So I've gone onto this website here, and it's called www.4bissell.co.uk. And if you have a look here, you can clearly see the same part number, 3100625. And if I search for my model, this is the one that comes up. So I've bought this, and I've also bought a couple of upholstery tools, you know, like sort of, I don't know what they are, 3-inch tools or something, and that would be perfect hand tools for the car. Very reasonable price, £3.68. The tools were about £4 or £5 each, and I opted for next day delivery because I really would like to get this up and running to get it on the car ASAP. So I had to pay £8.99 for next day delivery, but the cheapest option was £4.99, so I did waste £4 by having next day delivery. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a wet wipe, and I think I'm going to put it into the different crevices and stuff and try to get this a little bit cleaner. And then when the belt arrives, we'll pop it in, we'll add some water, and I also get some detergent. I'm going to get the detergent from, or the carpet cleaner, I'm going to get it from Screwfix, because apparently you get a massive 5-litre container for next to nothing, and the reviews are really, really positive. So yeah, you have to dilute it down. Hopefully then, once that belt's changed over, I wish now I'd bought 2 belts, because some of the reviews said that the belt snaps straight away. So in hindsight, I should have bought 2. But look, if it fails, I'll just have to wait another day or so and then get another one delivered. But let's do a little bit of cleaning here, and hopefully I think this will be up and running again. Scrubbing time. I noticed when I was looking back at the video that the spindle that spins up here has a little bit of rust on it. So I'm just going to try to clean it, just in case that was contributing to kind of breaking the belt. You know, if it's a little bit sharp, if it's bubbled up a bit, you know. So what I might do is I might get a little knife in there and try to scrape back on that rust, or a fiberglass pen or something. I can actually dismantle this whole front bit here to get this brush out. It's quite nice. Obviously I am unplugged at the moment. Okay, I think it's clean enough for a device that's going to be used for cleaning. It doesn't need to be spotless. So I am going to now just put this up in the bath upstairs and give this a good wash around, get rid of all the dirt and grime from up in here. And then hopefully when the belts arrive and I get some detergent, we can put it on and see if it is throwing out water and sucking it up with the brush spinning at the front. It is the next day, and as promised, this arrived around about midday. Let's see if it's the same size. Well, it's a tiny bit smaller. But maybe it's not a problem to be a little bit tighter. Maybe this one has stretched a bit. Has it got the same number there? 3100625EX637. Yeah, so it's the same there. But yeah, it is a little bit different. A little bit tighter. Right, let's see if I can get it on. There is instructions here. I'll use them if I get stuck. So first thing we need to do is we need to get it round this red thing here. Let me see if I can just leave the camera down on the ground. It might be a better picture. Yeah, it's probably better down there. So we need to take off... Well, that belt's already off there, so we need to wrap this around the red thing. Like so. And then I need to try to get that around the spindle down here. So I think it would be easier to get it around the spindle first. Now, I'll probably make a bit of a meal off this. It would be a lot easier if I wasn't filming, because I could get my head right in the way. Let's see if I can get this in. I've cleaned up that the motor spindle thing just with this. I just scraped it up and down, but it seemed actually very clean. It didn't seem to be as rusty. It didn't seem to be as rusty as when I was filming earlier, so maybe the wet wipe just cleaned up the surface rust. Right, so that's around there now. Now I need to get this all the way around here, which is going to be a little bit awkward. Imagine this is where you would stretch the belt. Oh, I nearly had it there. I'm just going to get the back bit on first. There we go. Right, so I'm on that one now, so if I keep turning it, I'll be able to move it up. There we go. Now it's getting there, I just need to get it onto the red pulley. There we go. Right, that seems pretty nice. It seems kind of central to it. I don't know how much of this you can see, but it's nice and central on the red one now. So let's get this one in. There we go. Now with this, you see this bit here? That has to go into this bit here. So it feels like it's kind of going to break, but then if you get it lined up nice, it goes in well. That's it. So all you have to do is this. You just need to lift that up, and then it all starts up nicely. So watch. Like I'm just doing this one-handed. Lift up there. And you see now that goes back in lovely with no strain at all, and you can easily see the black thing over there. Otherwise the black thing's hidden inside and I don't think it lines up properly. Okay, I'm just going to plug it in and we'll turn it on while it's on its side. Hopefully we'll see that spin. I'm only going to turn it on for a split second just to see if it will spin. Result! Excellent, it goes really fast. One more time. perfect. So it's supposed to be 3 capfuls of this, which is 50 millilitres to 5 litres. What I've done is 2 capfuls to 3 litres, because that isn't gonna, I don't think that's gonna take 5 litres. Maybe it does, but I don't wanna fill it up too much. Also, I'm quite happy for it to be a little bit stronger. I have got plenty there. I think that's gonna last me my lifetime. So it'd be something I could hand down to the kids, there's that much of it. So now let's get this in the Bissell. I use nice warm water from the tap. I let it run for a bit. Let's see now if it's going to make this carpet look better. Uh-oh, I haven't shouted out the My Mate Vince Massive yet, so I'll quickly do it now while I'm cleaning. The members this month are kitdigital.com, Kip Hakes, Max Rokotansky, Chris Seal, Felipe at MrKeebs.com, DJ VG, Pigsy, Anthony Dean, Bazza2, Russ Mellinson, Gaspar Heller, Rickard Bergman, Soul Reaver 555, the My Mate Vince Fan Club, Tobias Hennig and Astral Red Panda. Thank you so much, guys. Well, you can clearly see there that it's definitely working. So on a mat like this, it's much easier to use a hand tool because it's light. When I try to use the actual carpet cleaner on it, I'm just moving the mat around the kitchen floor. Obviously, that wouldn't happen if you're using on fitted carpet because the carpet's not going to be moving around the room. But you can see there's a definite difference between where the coffee or tea stain is and where I've been rubbing up and down the hand tool. And also check out the dirt of the water that's come out of it. So the water goes in a white colour and then it comes out a nice greyish brown colour, so it must be doing some kind of lifting of dirt, which is fantastic. So yeah, a nice simple easy fix just for the sake of replacing a belt. And if it goes again, I know that both those belts are very easy to replace and relatively cheap as well. So hopefully this carpet cleaner will go on to do many cleaning jobs in the future. We're going to be looking at this little mini spot welder. So it was sent in by a viewer named Ray into my PO box, and it says here is a mini spot welder for an 18650 battery pack welding, either not working from new, which is interesting, or I can't figure it out. And there's also a couple of memory cards in there as well. And it says I do have a few fixes repairs on YouTube, mainly Dyson's, but some other stuff. I haven't got the patience for electrical things. Thanks again, Ray. York Knight, I presume York Knight is the YouTube channel. Right, okay, so what I did when this arrived about a week or 2 weeks ago now is I just plugged in this little amp meter into it and it wasn't drawing anything. So I don't think it's a case that he hasn't figured out how to work it. I actually don't think it's working, because surely it should be, basically look, when you turn it on and off here, it's not doing anything. There's nothing lighting up or anything, and I presume it should light up when you press that button in here. Let's just hold it down, see if it needs some sort of reset. Nothing happening. And if we plug this in here, I wonder, will it be a problem with an 18650 battery in here? If you have a look here, can you see it's not drawing anything? Yeah. So we have a light here, one light on there, but look here, it's not drawing anything at all. So let's take it apart. First of all, I want to see if, well, I was going to say, could it be an on and off switch? But the thing is, it's not drawing anything. But maybe it's fully charged and that's not the reason it's not drawing anything. But you would think, now that it hasn't been plugged in a couple of weeks, that maybe it would lose a little bit, would it, over time? Maybe? Not too sure. All right, let's take it apart and see. So there's a nice metal casing on it with just 2 screws and the back pops off, and it reveals a flat lithium cell, so it's not an 18650. There's another 2 screws at the front as well. And when you undo those 2, it allows the whole metal case to slide back and it reveals the inside of this item. Ah, look at that. We've got no voltage coming out of this battery pack, have we? We've got no voltage coming out, so there's no voltage in this battery. Right, so let's plug in. Right, let's see if it makes any difference now. Yes, it's going up. It's going up massively. Hold on. But it's not drawing anything. How's that possible? How can it not draw anything? But yet it's going up. Is my amp meter working? That's weird. That's climbing. I wonder whether it's just a massively flat battery. Maybe it's been in storage a long, long time. That's climbing nicely. Obviously the battery is ridiculously flat, but maybe it will suddenly start jumping up more when it, mind you, why is it being allowed to go so flat? That's climbing good though, isn't it? Let's put a different amp meter in. Ah, that's drawing something, 0.06. That's showing something. Wait, it's gone off. Let's see if it comes back. 0.07, 0.06. So why is this not? Well, it's interesting that my old amp meter is not working as well as I thought it was, because when I put the new one in, I can visually see that it now is charging, albeit at a very, very low amount. It shows you how important it is to have an amp meter, and especially one that works. They're only about 5 or 10 UK pounds, and they give you an idea of what the product is actually doing, so they really are a very, very worthwhile tool to have. Now, I must stress that the lithium cell here is ridiculously low. It's not safe to put back into operation again. I'm charging it up, I'm taking the risk, I'm charging it up for the purpose of the video, but this can't be used again because the cell has gone below the safe level. The thing is, there must be loads of cells out there that have gone below the safe level and the customer might not even be aware of it, because people aren't going to be taking their things apart and measuring the voltage. They just see it doesn't work and they plug it into charger and go off to work for the day. They might come back 12 hours later and their item's working again. What they don't realise is for the past few weeks it might have been sat at 0.6 volts or something like that. But basically, if it goes below a safe level, you should not charge it up again because it becomes a fire risk, which is a real shame. One of the massive downfalls of lithium batteries. Anyway, let's get a move on with this video now. Obviously, this is done purely for entertainment. I want to put charge into it to see if this does work and maybe to try and work out why it's failed in the first place. But it can't go back into service. Unless, of course, you were to buy a new battery, and then I'm sure it will be fine. Unless the fault is on the board, which is draining the battery. Let's try to work out what's happening. It's still growing, but it's still drawing a tiny amount of amps. It's still 0.06. What's interesting is, though, when I unplug it, it's dropping massively. Look, it didn't seem to stabilise. It just keeps on dropping. Not sure. See, maybe the battery itself has failed. I mean, it's new, so it shouldn't have, but when batteries get old, they lose their charge. Is it possible that a new battery could be made faulty where it just loses its charge? Don't know, not too sure. Anyway, we're going to leave it plugged in. I'll tell you what, though, let's get the FLIR cam on. I can't feel anything getting warm, but it might just, I presume this is the charge chip here, so I presume there's going to be a bit of heat in that. Could there be something on the board that's a bit shorted that is causing it to drain? Let's see what we've got. Nothing there. Remember, these are just reflections that you see. You need to see my finger, and then if something's warm, it will be compared to my finger. So without my finger, that's going to be red hot, but look at my finger. Yeah. So that is that little chip. What's it measuring? 20 Celsius. I think it flashed up to 30 for a second. Yeah, I would say that's completely normal. Let's have a look on this side. No, because I suppose this hasn't been energized yet here, has it? This is what's going to... Is this going to be what dumps the power into here? Wow, I've just noticed this. How nice is this? They've labelled up everything on this board. So all these resistors, 1K. It tells you what this chip is here. That resistor, 1.6K. The capacitors, 10 microfarad, 100 nanofarad. 100K resistor is all labelled up. How good is that? Even here, in the microhenries, it's all here. It's lovely, isn't it? I don't think I've ever seen a board labelled up so well. That's fantastic. These are all the same. HY4903. Right, it's only minutes later. I took this off and I can see that these are all bent up here. So I presume they should be... I don't think they should be like that. I would say that they need to be more... Oh, no, I'll tell you what it needs. That one needs to be turned more. So I presume you undo these two screws here, and that will allow you to turn this a bit. Because I was thinking, how am I going to... I was thinking, is it isolated so I can get some pliers in and bend it? And this is really worrying. Look. 1.76 volts, which is what we have here. So, if that's correct, that's really, really bad. Because what that means is that if you had this left out and that shorted, against something, you've shorted this out. Surely this should only have power when it's ready to go. I'll tell you what, maybe because it's charging, but even that shouldn't be right. So look, this is dead now. There's no lights on here. So what have we got now? No, so this is like live. So if I was to short that out, then you'd be is that not the same as shorting out the battery pack? It is, isn't it? Because we have the voltage here. That doesn't seem right. I suppose it would be safer to swap this round now. Well, there's still not a huge amount of power in the battery. That one needs to be round that way a bit, and this one needs to be this way. So the reason I'm doing this now is because if I do slip with the screwdriver or the pliers or something, at least then there's only going to be 1 and a bit volts in it, rather than having, for example, 4.2 volts in it when it's fully charged. Now I'll get Marcel's vice up here just to help me out with the undoing of this, because I kind of need to make sure I don't slip. It's got a nut on one side, so I have to use pliers on one side to help undo it, and then basically it's a case of just swiveling around the little copper probes. Now it is good because every time you do a spot weld, I think you just wear away a slight bit of the probe, so it does mean they are replaceable. How easy it is to get replacements, I'm not too sure, but they are replaceable. Having a look online, these probes I now realise should be straight. I just rotated them round, so it was kind of like if you hold a pen, so you hold it down at that angle, but looking online the others seem to be straight. Realistically, I suppose it's more comfortable to have them at a bit of an angle, but I think originally when it came out of the factory they probably were straight. So basically all I'm now doing is sorting out the probes and leaving it charging, and I have a little look online to see how to work this thing, and I find some reviews on Amazon. They're not for the exact same product. The newer ones have a USB-C port rather than micro USB, and they have a little screen built into them as well, rather than relying on the lights at the back to tell you what this one is doing. But I think the internals are pretty similar. And it's interesting because I want to show you this review here now because it's got the same fault as this one. Well, it's been about 20 minutes later and it's still only drawing 0.05 and 0.06 of an amp, so it's painfully slow. And before this was whizzing up in the 3s and 5s and stuff. Now it's just going up 1 at a time. So I think when I get to 3 volts, I think it probably will start charging up more amps and then really start properly charging after that. But what's interesting is I had a look on Amazon. You can see that the circuit board itself still looks pretty similar, with these big MOSFET type things down here. Now apparently it's very good because the battery's on here, so there's no loss on leads or anything. Normally you have leads on a spot welder. Well, with this is on straight to here with massive tracks, so all of the energy from the battery can be put through to the spot weld. So I presume for the size of the battery you probably actually get quite a strong spot weld. But what's interesting is in this instance it's like it's got the same fault as this one here. So this is Kevin K. It's only got 1 star, and it says it works well, but the battery is dead after just a few months. I used it for 1 battery pack, then charged it. When I tried to use it again a few weeks later, it was dead. Plugging it in, I noticed the voltage on screen was low, under 2 volts. I removed the battery a few days later, it was 0.5 volts. Lithium batteries should not be charged when they drain too low. Typically, the limit is 2.5 volts, but never lower than 2, and we know this was way lower than 2. The electronics in the device should prevent this since it uses a bare cell with no protection. A battery that is drained too low can start a fire when charging and should never be charged again. Things like power tools have protection built into the battery to prevent this. This device has bare cells, so protection needs to be built into the device. Now, I'm not sure if that is the case on this one here. I'm presuming one of these chips here is doing some sort of protection. I mean, even right now you can see it is charging really slowly. So that says to me that it is in some sort of, protection mode at the moment. But the very fact is it was allowed to drain really low, really low. So I think we'll find that when we actually get this charged up, I think that it's just going to be discharging all the time. Right, check it out. It's gone right the way up to 0.6 amps now. So now we're going to be getting charge into it. So let's have a little looky. Yep, we're at 3 volts now, you see. And it's climbing quicker. Look at that. Right, okay, just check to see if anything's getting warm now. Because obviously it's there's a lot more energy being thrown into it. Have we still got voltage here? I presume we have. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep my eye on it more closely now because obviously it's higher here, Well, it's been a few hours later now. Let's see where we are. 3.9. Right, okay, I'm going to leave it at that because I'm getting bored of waiting. But you can clearly see that it is taking a charge. Very slow to charge. Right, let's see now. I won't wait long, but let me just fast forward for the next minute. I want to see if it's dropping. Right, you can clearly see there that it's dropping. It's incredibly slow, but it is dropping. So a minute's not a long time. Imagine that if you had this on the shelf for 4 or 5 weeks, you can see how that would probably drop to absolutely nothing. Right, we need to find out, is it the battery that's dropping, or is it something on the board? I'm not going to be able to find it out. I'm not taking this any further because the thing is, it could be the way it's designed. But I just want to see if the battery itself is dropping. At least then we've proved what the fault is. Right, okay, so I'm not going to peel this off because it's stuck down, but what I can do is I can lift these off. So now we're no longer connected to the board. So if I was to go on the 2 prongs this side, you'll see that there's nothing there. Yeah, okay. Right, actually, while we've got this off now, let's just see if there's any caps that have failed. So I'm just going to leave it on ohms. I just want to see if there's any that's kind of like reading 50 ohms or something. So all the caps were in the thousands of ohms, so I don't think that would cause any problems. So what I'm going to do now is I want to measure the battery out of circuit to see if it's dropping down as quick as when it's in circuit, and that might suggest if it drops down as quick out of circuit, that is the battery itself which has failed and not something on the board which is draining energy from the battery. Right, so I'm not putting pressure down so it touches the board. In fact, I'll tell you what, let's go underneath it and underneath it here. Right, let's see if that's dropping now. Just fast forward through another minute or so. Well, that's interesting. It's dropped from, I think it was 3.971 to 3.970, but it hasn't dropped more than that in the same amount of time. So that's dropped 1, but when it was connected to the board, I think it dropped about 5. Unless, of course, it's just stabilized a bit now. Let's now put pressure down on here and here, so we're now connected to the board. Let's see now if it starts dropping. Yeah, well, there you go. I think that's proved it. There's something on the board. Well, annoyingly, it just seems to have stabilized now, doesn't it? That's weird, because when we first saw done it, it was measuring, it dropped about 5. Right, annoyingly, it all seems a bit inconclusive. So you touch it against a board, it seems to drop a lot. Take it off the board, it drops very little. And then test it again when it's touching the board, and it's dropping very little. So it seems a little bit all over the place. Let's get it back together in the case, and let's see if it does actually work as a spot welder. And then we can finish up this item here. Because I don't know whether it's the fact that it's been designed incorrectly, or whether this particular unit has a fault. I really don't know. Turn on. Yeah, there we go, and you can see battery is 3 out of 4, and we can swap the power here and turn off. Right, let's get a little bit of nickel strips and see if we can weld 2 bits together. Right, so let's leave it on the default setting, which is halfway. So that's 3 out of 5. Let's see now, so we should auto sense this. Let's see if I can get that onto there. Can't remember the thickness of this nickel now. It's not very thick. Right, here goes. Slightly apprehensive. You gonna go? Whoa. You went. Okay, a bit hesitant. Right now. Oh, I can smell it. Wow, it went through to my mat. Let's see if you are welded. Yes, you are. That's a very good weld. Wow. You did weld. Okay. Let's lower it down a little bit so it doesn't burn the mat. Pretty impressed with that. Let's go to 2. That went very quick. That went very quick, that one. Has that one gone? I can see that hasn't got the same penetration as the other. Right, the top ones didn't do on that one, but the bottom ones did. Let's go really strong. Let's see what happens when I go all the way to 5. Wow, that actually burnt right the way through. Can you see the hole? That's gone right the way through. Well, it's definitely easier than having to set up like a car battery and stuff on it. So it clearly does what it's supposed to do, which is spot weld. And it's very nice that it's got the battery built into it as well. Saves you having to get a separate battery out to power another spot welder. Right now, we know that it's draining the battery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a measurement now, and then I'm going to come back in an hour's time, take another measurement, and then come back in another hour after that and take a measurement then. And we'll see how much it's dropping over time. Right, and what I'm going to do is I just want to write down the voltage that it is now. Then I'm going to come back to it in 1 hour's time and see what it's gone down to. 3.936 volts. So set an alarm for 1 hour.
1 hour alarm set for 3:59 p.m.
Right, the alarm has just gone off. So an hour later, let's see what it's dropped. So it was 3.936. We're now 3.926. So you can see it is dropping. It's interesting, isn't it? It's definitely dropping. Right, okay, I'm going to set another alarm for an hour and let's see if it goes down to 3.916. So set an alarm for an hour's time.
1 hour alarm set for 5 p.m.
Right. Right, the alarm has gone off, so another hour's gone. Let's see now, has it dropped another 10? So I'm in here and here. No, 3.921. So it's only actually dropped, oh no, it's gone to 2 there, so it's dropped 6. So it had dropped 10 here and now it's dropped 6, but you can see it's consistently dropping. So let's just do it 10 to make sums easy. So in 10 hours time it's going to be down to about 3.8 roughly, but then in 100 hours time, is that correct? In 100 hours time then it's going to be down to 2.8. Have I done my sums correct there? I think I have. In which case then, that's only like 5 days worth roughly. So I think if you were to leave this on the shelf without using it for a good, without charging it for a good month or so, I think that that would be as low as it was when it arrived to me. Now, Is this item faulty, or has it just been designed incorrectly? Why does it keep on draining ever so slightly? Right, it's the next day now, and it's still working as a spot welder, but we're now down to 3.8, and the next day will be 3.7, then it will be 3.6, and it will keep going down and down until this battery falls below the safe level. Now, this isn't the only product this has happened on. I had some hair clippers which did the same thing. I had a Bang & Olufsen portable speaker which did the same thing. I had Mike's rideable suitcase which did the same thing. So what is it with the lithium cells where they drain down to nothing? Are all these products faulty? Is this product faulty, or is it designed incorrectly? And then let's say on a correctly designed product, you do have a battery management chip. That has to take power from somewhere, so it's taking power from the cell. Surely eventually that's going to wear the battery down. Or does the battery management chip know when it gets to, for example, 2.8 volts, when it measures anything less than 2.8 volts, it shuts everything down completely? Because otherwise every single lithium product's going to go faulty if you were to leave it for a year. So yeah, I'm not sure about that. If you could put that down in the comment section below, I'll be grateful. Anyway, with this one here, it's working now, but it's not safe to use. And also, if you were to leave this for a month, then it's not going to work again. It's going to take ages to charge up. So is this product faulty, or is it designed incorrectly? If you could add that to the comment section below as well, I would be grateful. Also, what on earth is going on here? Is that a design fault, or is it supposed to be live all the time? Is that a feature of these spot welders? So there we have it, the end of Fixing Frenzy Part 1. There's going to be lots more parts to get through. My house is getting full of boxes and I need to work my way through them. So hopefully you enjoyed this last hour. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Hopefully you will see Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, Part 5 onwards going on into the future. But sometimes it's nice to group a load of fixes together and put them in the one longer episode, because it means you can put your feet up, you can take a bit of time out, have a drink and relax. So hopefully Part 2 will be out in the not too distant future. Until then, there'll be plenty of Rolls Royce videos going on, and there'll be plenty of Bang & Olufsen stuff and loads of other stuff as well. Take care everyone, and I'll see you all very soon. Thank you so much for watching.